Hari Om Tat Sat Shrimad Bhagavad Gita Shubhubnishad Uvacha Shubha Shubha Palairevam Mokshase Karma Bandhanaihi Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mam Upaishyasi. Thus you will be freed from the bonds of good and bad karma. Established in the yoga of renunciation, you will be liberated and reach me. In my estimation, verse 27 was the what, and verse 28 is the why and the how. In the previous verse 27, I believe Lord Krishna says, everything, make everything an offering to me. Everything you do, everything you say, everything you think, make it an offering to me. And now in verse 28 of chapter 9, Lord Krishna explains, I'm going to be a little bit careful here. I don't want to say why in the traditional sense of, if I do this, then I get this, or why should I do this? Oh, because I get that. I don't believe that is a way, at least that's not the way I am approaching this verse. It doesn't feel right to approach this verse from, or any verse, from a transactional approach where you're saying it's a give and take. You're like, you know what, I'll do this for you if you give me this, or I'm going to do this because you've promised that. If we circle back to verse 26, just 2 verses ago, Lord Krishna says, whatever you offer, offer it with love and devotion. I think that applies here too. As let's say we manage to make an offering of all the stuff, all the things, all the actions, all the thoughts, and all the words from the previous verse. And now in the first line of 28, Lord Krishna gives us the why. Or maybe not why, I've just thought of a better word. The outcome, the result of such devotional offerings and worship. And that result seems to be that if one makes an offering of everything, if they place their whole life and all its contents at the Lord's feet, make their life and every action a form of worship, then this one will be freed from good and bad karma. This I would have found quite alarming had it been the first time that I had heard the concept of being freed from both bad karma and good karma. Because for the longest time, when I thought of karma, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Your good actions give you good karma, your bad actions give you bad karma, and they will come back to either be paid to you or a debt that you have to pay. I understood it, or I thought I did. As I got this, I know what I have to do. I need to do good actions to build up good karma, and if I do something bad, then that's gonna give me some bad karma, and they will come back and bite me, or do whatever good karma does. A hug, maybe? Yeah, hug me. Anyway, I knew what I had to do. Go out and do good things, build up as much good karma through good actions as I possibly could till it was monumentally high, and then at the end of time, at the end of my life, good things will happen and I shall accumulate so much good karma that I can climb it all the way to the Supreme. Just like stacks and stacks of good karma that I use to elevate myself to the Lord's abode. At the same time, I had to minimize the amount of good karma, the bad karma that I was accumulating. So I had to stop doing bad things, bad actions, bad thoughts, and bad words. Because otherwise I would have to pay them off, and it would inhibit the climb up my good karma towards the Lord. Now, I can't remember what I thought back in the day, whether it was a weighing scale where my good karma just had to supremely outweigh my bad karma, or I had to completely get rid of all my bad karma and have only stacks and stacks of good karma. But whatever it was turned upon its head when I was speaking to another humanoid who was sharing their perspective of what they'd understood or learned from some source about karma. And this is what they said. Think of karma like a vault or a bank. Let's call it the Royal Bank of Karma. And throughout your life, you make deposits of good and bad karma depending on your good and bad actions. Throughout your life, you'll also make withdrawals in order to pay off your bad karma and in order to cash in on your good karma. Then, at the end of your life, you have a meeting with your karmic account advisor. Sit down with you and say, okay, at the end of this life, your cumulative karmic balance is as followed. You have X amount of bad karma and you have Y amount of good karma. After careful analysis of your karmic balance, it is clear that you worship this deity. And therefore, what you worship is where you will go. So if you head to the 7473rd door on the right, that will lead you to the deity that you have been worshipping, where you will be able to spend, one moment, let me calculate it. Tap, 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 tap. Based on your karma, your merit, you will be able to spend X amount of time there before you'll have to be reincarnated to pay off the bad karma that is still remaining in your account, and also for us to pay your good karma that is also pending in your account. Cross the T's, dot the I's, go to the 7000 something something door on the right, chillax there for the determined amount of time. Then, because there's still a karmic balance, karmic debt, karmic owings, this imaginary person is reincarnated. Now let us say that this person in this next life resolves to only do good actions. They want to completely zero out their bad karma in this lifetime. And so they go through their life doing only good actions and doing their very best not to do any bad actions. As the time of death arrives, and they sit down again with their karmic account advisor. The advisor looks at the karmic balance, an eyebrow raised. Well, this is very interesting. You have 0 bad karma. You also have a lot of good karma. Based on all of this, based on what you worshipped throughout your life, you can take the 108th door on your right, which will align with what you have been worshipping, and you will be able to remain there for X amount of time before, as last time, you will have to be reincarnated in order for us to pay you your good karmic dues in your next life. Yeah, wait, what? And this is the part that got me when this other humanoid was sharing their perspective. I was like, wait a minute. That it good. That person just had good karma, only good karma, no bad karma. Isn't that the whole point? Gathering as much good karma as humanly possible and limiting or getting rid of all the bad karma? That sounds about right. Good versus evil and all that. My fellow humanoid continued to explain their brain thought. Just as how in the law of karma, one has to pay for their bad karma, they have to pay those debts, no getting out of it. And if that's the case for bad karma, then it's only fair and just that the same is true for the opposite, for good karma. You've got to be paid those dues, there's no getting out of it. So even if one only has good karma, then great, they're going to live the good life in their next life. They're going to have a nice time in whatever abode they go to in the afterlife based on what they were worshipping. But they still got to come back. They still got to be reincarnated so that they can be paid their good karmic dues. And then that brought into my mind, I thought, okay, well, then this person with loads of really good karma comes back, they're reincarnated, okay, then they go through life again, but temptation, desires, all the ways in which one can slip and fall in this world into sin, into bad deeds by mistake, intentionally, unintentionally, they could just start accumulating bad karma again. Or even if it's not bad karma, they just keep on accumulating more and more and more and more good karma. Then they're never going to get out of the cycle. Especially if even one's thoughts creates karma. Every time this person meets with their karmic account advisor at the end of their life, it's going to be the same process every single time. Tot up the balance. Okay, you go here, then you get reincarnated after X amount of time. And we do the same thing in the next life, the life after that, and the next life, 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 as long as there is either good or bad karma. It doesn't matter which one is there, as long as there is a karmic balance there, gotta come back. The system's rigged! Alright, easy, easy. The humanoid continued. To break the cycle, the ultimate goal is to empty the account, is to have neither bad karma nor good karma in the account. Then, when the time of death arrives, and one sits down with their karmic account advisor, they will raise both eyebrows. This is unprecedented. I have yet to see this in my professional career, that your account is zero. You have no bad karma, nor do you have good karma. Just a big fat zero. This means, but bear with me a second, I need to double check with my manager if this is correct. Alrighty then. It has been confirmed you are in a unique position that, given your vault is completely empty here at the Royal Bank of Karma, you have the privileged choice of closing the account. You are now beyond karma. You are free from the cycle of life and death because you have no bad karma to pay off, nor do you have any good karma to be paid to you. In other words, you're free. You are liberated. And you know who else is beyond karma? That would be the Supreme Lord of all things and all universes. High five, Supreme Lord! Pa! Started from the bottom, now we're here. I made it. I beat the system. Yeah! Alright, enough with the high fives. As you may have told, I'm paraphrasing here. The other humanoid said or explained this much more eloquently. In summary, they were basically saying their concept, their idea, what they've been taught about karma is that the idea is to have an empty vault. No good karma, no bad karma. And when one has achieved that, they are free from the cycle of life and death, reincarnation, because they got nothing to pay. Nothing to pay, nothing to owe. They go beyond karma, and so they go beyond the cycle of life and death. And unless I'm a crazy person connecting dots that don't exist, I feel chapter 9 verse 28 is confirming just this. Alright, let's get a little bit crazy and start connecting some dots on our case board. Dot 9.26. Whatever offerings one makes to the Lord, do so with love and devotion. Dot 9.27. Make what you do, what you eat, what you gift, what austerities, rituals you perform, a pure-hearted devotional offering to the Lord. Now then, if we connect dot 9.26 and dot 9.27 together, achieve those two dots, then they both lead to dot 9.28. By making one's very life a devotional offering to the Lord, dedicating every thought, word, and action at the Lord's feet, then one will be freed from the bonds of good and bad karma. One will go beyond karma, beyond the cycle of life and death. And in the second line of verse 28 of chapter 9, I believe it gives us the how, which is by practicing the yogic subtle art of renunciation. And once one has connected and achieved all these dots, one will attain, one will reach the Lord Supreme. Renunciation. It is a word that I am finding a challenge to succinctly describe what it means to me. Believe me, I've tried a few times now, and each time it hasn't quite hit the gong of rightness in my brain. Always feels just short of what I actually mean. So I'm just going to conclude the video here. I'm kidding. Wouldn't leave a cliffhanger. I would, actually. I did in Storyhead Ramblings, but not today. The shortest description that kind of gets it is detachment or non-attachment. That's all I can say. That's it. However, I will conclude with a concluding story that I hope will succeed where I have not in demonstrating what renunciation means and the difference between inner renunciation and outer renunciation. There was a Guruji and a student. They came to a fast-flowing river. The water was rushing down in a strong stream. And as they approached, they saw a lady with one leg, contemplating how they were going to cross this fast-flowing river. The Guruji, seeing someone in a bit of a pickle, went over to the lady and said, "Revered sister, I can see that you might well be contemplating how you're going to cross this river. If this is the case, may I offer some assistance?" The lady was indeed contemplating how to cross this fast flowing river with one leg. So I accepted. After a little bit of discussion, the Guruji and the lady agreed that the best way across would be for the lady to climb upon the Guruji's shoulders, and the Guruji would carry the lady over to the other side of the river. And they proceeded to do just that. They made it to the other side of the river where the lady alighted. They said farewell, and the Guruji continued on their way. End of story. Or at least it would have been, but for the student who was having a mid student life crisis, as they were looking upon their Guruji, thinking in their mind, holy moly, my Guruji has sworn a vow of celibacy, a strict vow of celibacy. And they just touched a woman, had them on their shoulders, their legs, around their neck. How on earth could the Guruji do this? Break their vow like this? How? And they continued thinking in this way for a long time, till eventually the Guruji, sensing some restlessness in their student, turned and said, "Student, you seem to be agitated, restless, something on your mind." The student said, "Yes, finally. Guruji, how could you? You've sworn a strict vow of celibacy, yet at the riverside you touched that lady, carried her across the water. How could you do this after vowing celibacy?" And the Guruji replied, "I assisted one of the Lord's children, a divine sister, and I left her physically and mentally at the river's edge. You, who having not even touched this lady, have carried thoughts of this lady, thoughts of touch and its many implications in your mind, all the way from the river's edge, all this long distance that we have walked since. So now you tell me, who has broken a vow of celibacy?"